I'm here again with Pastor Donna, Tiffany, and Elizabeth for part 2 of Living in Two Different Worlds. Let's talk about society as a whole putting just you all in boxes, especially as a mother raising a biracial female, and then now you didn't know, but you were placed in boxes anyway and didn't understand why. So for you, I want for you to go back and just look at the boxes of how society places us in these different boxes, and let's discuss on how we can help society not place in boxes. You understand what I'm saying? So with you and Olivia, Elizabeth, what boxes do you feel you were placed in as a single parent raising a biracial child?
Probably several. Being a single parent, number one, you're looked at, in a different light, especially a single parent that was never married. So you're looked at, a little differently than divorced mothers.
Yes.
But, that kind of dealt with that. And then, having a biracial child, I don't know how that factored into a box that I was put in necessarily, because just my personality and my way, I don't care. But I didn't pay attention to a lot of it. But I know for her, being raised by a white mom, she would get a lot of questions, like, why do you look different from your mom? Who is that? Not realizing that I was her mom or, whatever. So she would have that to deal with. There were times when I think being a single mom of a biracial child, it was difficult dating and things like that.
Yes.
Because I'm not going to hide it.
No, help the parents.
I'm going to bring it up.
Single parents.
Yeah.
Come on, help us. We want to touch everything. Yeah.
And kind of navigate. In Southeast Texas, all right, what is in you. When you're kind of fielding out a person. Like if there's like a hint of something there, and move along. Kind of thing. So it's box wise that we were put in. And there were people that rejected me. When they found out that I had a biracial daughter, because they don't want to deal with, a woman who's dated a black man.
That's
or,
right.
Whatever. And so.
Or raise a black daughter.
Really. Yeah. And, I always say, I love Southeast Texas, but Southeast Texas has its own kind of mentality apart from kind of the rest of the world a little bit. Not that this isn't an issue everywhere, but it's a little different down here. So box-wise, I think it was, you're just looked at a little differently. I don't have a label for the box necessarily, but, there were some different situations, and, just, I don't know.
What about you?
Well, like you said, the what are you, I get asked on probably a daily basis, well, what are you? And I used to say, well, I'm human, or I'm awesome, or I'm me, But, well, where are you from?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And before, I would just tell people I was Cajun, because I am, but that's not why I'm dark.
Yes.
But, a lot of times, and people would just they would almost start arguing with you, like they want to know, what are you? I'm like, I'm me. And it still is, I guess. It's kind of like a rude thing to ask somebody, like to be asked. I'm just me, and why does it matter what I am? Shouldn't you just respect me because I'm a human being and I'm here? And so, a lot of what are you, or where did you come from, stuff like that I guess looking like then I didn't realize what they were getting at, but looking back on it, it was almost like a dig.
Yes.
So,
Yes, trying to figure out.
And I do remember a lot of times being with my mom, and people would, not realize she was my mom, who is this lady? And to the point where now if I see my mom and I'm in a big group, I'll go, hey, Mom. So everybody, it's like, and I still do that every time I see her, just so everybody knows she's my mom.
Do you get looks?
Oh, sure.
Oh, yes.
Oh, sure.
Okay. Yeah.
because we look nothing alike.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I didn't really realize that it was a big deal till right now. But it was always an issue. Or who's your daddy?
Yeah.
People would ask me when we were together. Well, who's your dad? Well, back then I didn't know. I remember I used to ask for a daddy for Christmas when I was a kid, so I didn't know. Yeah. But it was one of those things that, like, I just remember thinking, well, I can't be different because people don't like that. So I have to try to bury that part of me. And I did that. I did that for a long time.
And that's what I was trying to get. How, when we place people in boxes and categories, we make them cover or bury their true self and identity.
Absolutely.
And we see an outer persona or just of who someone else instead of learning who they are by their heart. And so with that, I'm sure, Olivia had to deal with that as well. Very ecstatic that she had you. I know you feel, and this is just me just ministering to you now, I know you feel you might have went wrong or you might have didn't hit the mark in some things, but at least she had you. Because, and no disrespect to your mom, because like you said, she's dealing with her own things, and other parents out there and just grandparents, because it's not always parents. Sometimes it's aunts and uncles and grandparents that's raising, or just friends raising children that are biracial, but you're doing the best you can. And so I wanted you to know that, because I know you said that at the beginning, and it's just been sticking with me, that you did the best you could, and that's your best, even though you may not feel like, I'll say it again, you hit the mark on some things, at least you tried.
Yeah.
So let's just shift and let's get to what's going on now in society. In the wake of all the protests against police brutality and systemic racism, how do you all process this right now? What you're seeing, what you're hearing? Tiffany, I know that's going to be fresh and new for you. And then, of course, your discussions with Pastor Donna, and then Elizabeth, with you and your discussions with Olivia. So how are you dealing with what you're seeing in the news with police brutality, the racial issues? Let's discuss that. Let's start with you, Tiffany.
Well, it scares me.
Okay.
Just all the violence scares me. And I guess I don't understand it. I don't understand because I've never felt like I have felt different, don't get me wrong, but all of my struggles have really been inside. I really don't feel like I've ever been treated. I've been treated, but I don't really feel like I've ever lost out on anything because I was black. Maybe some friends and stuff like that, but it's just more than anything, it scares me. It scares me. It scares me, the violence. I wish that people could do what we're doing right now and sit down and talk about it, and rather than hurt each other.
And as you say, the inner struggle, let's talk about more of outer, external, instead of internal. How do you feel now since you took the test, you understand who you are, and going places and feeling that you may have to be, you deal with prejudice or racism?
Well, I feel pretty confident just in me that I haven't really thought about that, to be honest with you. I haven't really thought about, because my fiance is white, and I do feel like people kind of look at us. He loves that. He loves it. And it doesn't, I don't guess I've really thought about it, to be honest with you. I haven't really processed it.
That's okay, because all this is new.
It's very new.
Is new. And how about you?
Well, can I say something about her? She's found Jesus. This past year has been like revival for her.
Definitely.
Like, she came out of a very dark place. And so, you know how it is when we first found Jesus.
Everything is wonderful.
Everything is wonderful.
You can hit me in my face and it's wonderful.
What is wrong with you people? Just get on board. And that's what she says. Aunt Donna, if I would have known how free I am now, I wish I would have done it years ago. I said, well, we all feel that way. So I just wanted to say that, that she hasn't, we've just been really walking through the inner healing and different strongholds, coming out of a life of addiction.
Okay.
And so I don't think she's
experienced.
She hasn't experienced.
Or even thought about it at all.
I really haven't.
Yeah.
Well, how do you feel as her aunt, seeing what's going on, knowing, as she said before, she wasn't prepared, but now you're being active and engaging to prepare. So how do you feel what's going on in the news and just what we're living in society now?
Well, I feel like, with Not in My City, that this is so needed. I mean, it's so long overdue, and we've talked, and it just breaks my heart that there's still racism. There's still that stigma, if you will, that is so ungodly. That's no part of God's kingdom. And however, you still find it, unfortunately, in the churches. You still find it, like Elizabeth said, in Southeast Texas, that it's something that, if we really loved as God says love, we wouldn't be having to have these discussions, but we do. And like Tiffany said, we've got to talk about it. We've got, I want to know from her, because I've never been and won't ever be where she's been or where she's at. And so, and of course, as her aunt, I want to protect her. One of the things that I did come to my mind when they did find out, because her fiance is white. Well, what would his family think, or what does he, and of course they've been loving and gracious and they love her, and it doesn't matter, but those things do cross your mind, because looking back at before, we didn't prepare her. And so now I'm like, I want her to be prepared for what she could experience. It breaks my heart even to hear her say, every day of her life, she's been asked, well, what are you? Well, where'd you come from? I've never been asked those questions. Never. And to think that we're so shallow to have to even ask somebody that. Why can't we just accept you for the person that you are? Because if anybody knew her, ever since she was a little bitty girl, they wouldn't ask her that. But people do, and I say it all the time, we judge people and things that we do not understand. And if we really walked in the love that the Lord told us to, we wouldn't even ask. It wouldn't even matter. What does that matter? What does that matter? So it really hurts me, and it makes me angry sometimes, of our ignorance, like even us, me, I'm talking about me and my family, for her, out of ignorance, not being able to prepare her. And we talked about the last time when you said that your family always encouraged you and always taught you, to encourage others. And we didn't have that. We didn't do that. I mean, we encouraged in our own way, but not ever with that in mind, that she would be asked every day, well, who are you? Where'd you come from? Who's your daddy? I mean, it shouldn't matter. So that, we need a lot of work on that, don't we?
Yes, but I also feel like in the society that we live in, everybody is so focused on, I need to know. It's almost like an intrusiveness or nosiness. You don't really need to know. What are you gaining from it? What is going to help you? It's not going to help you with anything in your life to sustain life for you. You just being nosy. So when questions like that are asked, I mean, it really upsets me because I know you being nosy. You're not, I mean, it's not some people may ask you just really because they really want to understand your culture and where you're from, but you can tell the difference. I'm talking about the questions. I know the questions you're asked. I know the questions you've been asked. So when those questions like that are asked, it is out of ignorance. And 9 times out of 10, that person already knows the answer. It's like you said, it's a dig. And so just as Pastor Donna was saying, when we would talk with my parents and then Pastor Tina Joseph was here, that we just lived in an environment in our home and most African American homes that your parents build you up before you went out because they understood what you would face going out. And so for some cultures, they didn't have to do that or understand that, but they just wouldn't build us up, but they would say, build up your friends. It didn't matter what color, it didn't matter where they were from. Just as we building you up, build them up. And so I honestly believe and wish that would happen in every household.
Yes, absolutely.
Because not everyone has a parent. You know, like I said, it's some grandparents. It's people working hard, to take care of their loved ones and their children. But to uplift everyone, and especially the children, so that when your identity is attacked, you have a firm foundation to stand on. How do you feel with everything that's been going on with the racial issues and police brutality and all that wrapped up into one?
It angers me. And it hurts for like my mama heart. It hurts my mama heart for Olivia. But more than that, just like I've taken the last year, because I thought, like I understood a whole lot, I've taken the last year to really kind of step back and listen and learn.
Yeah.
I got very vocal for a little while, and I, on social media, like a lot of people, I let my opinions be
Fighting
known. It, but, then I just stopped because, number one, none of that ever works. But I just stopped and I just began to kind of dig into, some resources, some books, listening to some people, listening to their stories, listening to their struggles, people that I don't even know, people that aren't from around here, just kind of really taking in what it is that is the Black experience, because I can't understand that, I see some of it, I get part of it, from raising Olivia, but the full experience, I don't know, I don't understand.
Yeah.
So just trying to learn and, just soak in as much as I can so I can be a better mom to Olivia and understand more what her experience has been, what, her walk through life is like. And, she's opened up some more to me about things that she, had to deal with. And it's given us some good conversations and stuff. So that's kind of been what I've done the last year, just kind of step back and educate and not, not judge.
Yeah, that's key.
It's, because there's real hurt and there's real injustice, and as much as people don't want to admit it or see it, it's there. And if a person says that they're feeling a certain way, you need to listen to that. Whether you agree with it or not.
So I like what you said. If you don't agree, you need to listen. And we sit at the table, as we say in the church, of brotherly love and just listen to one another. What would you say to people that's watching that has a hard time listening?
What would I say?
What would you say? Yes.
Clamp it.
To help them listen.
You didn't know what you were getting when you asked me.
I like it. Bring it. I love it. I knew what I was getting.
Yeah, just trying to explain. And there are some people that I've had to, like, even like my parents. Love my parents. My parents love Olivia. But, my parents are from a different time. My parents haven't paid attention, I don't think, to a lot, So just trying to educate them and, they have opinions about things and they would bring up things. And I'll just be like, look, put yourself in someone else's shoes for 5 minutes. Like imagine, X, Y, Z for 5 minutes. What if this was you? What if you went to school and this is what you had to deal with? Just, and then, some of the resources and things that I've seen, I would share with them, maybe you're not the person that I can talk to about something.
Yes.
Maybe you're not receptive, but maybe you'll just read this and it'll open a little something up, So, there are those people that are not receptive at all and don't want to hear. And there's only so much you can do. You can pray and hope that, God opens the door for, you or someone else to kind of slide in there and say something that maybe opens their eyes a little bit, or it may be something that, God is the only one that's going to be able to get through.
How do you feel, Tiffany, about talking to people that you feel wouldn't listen or just helping them to understand
You definitely
what's going on?
You definitely have to pray for them first and foremost. Without prayer, you're not going to be able to get through anybody. And like definitely giving them some materials, trying to persuade, but mostly you just let people kind of, figure it out. If they're not going to listen to you, then you kind of have to sometimes move on and hope that God can get to them if you can't.
Okay.
Education, I think, is key. Things like this is key. And then also, I think, and I think about, Tiffany, I think someone like her would be able to reach more people than I would be able to reach.
Yeah.
And so I think that someone who has experienced, and like your daughter, who experienced the hurt, the rejection and all of those things that go with this, I think being able to be free to share with people, even things that you've gone through, like you said, we wish other people would just imagine having to walk through what someone else has walked through. I think that helps us with having compassion one for another.
I agree. I like what you said, Tiffany. And I know some people might be watching and saying, well, she's new at this. She doesn't know or understand. But in my experience, we're to prepare and help and teach. So education is key. Of course, open-mindedness and just having a time of discussion, but go beyond discussion and have strategy and plan on how to implement what we're discussing, and also modeling what we're saying. I do believe right now it's a lot of talk and not a lot of action. And so I wanted to do this time with us as an action and not just a talk. And so that people can understand and see that, like you said, we're to love everyone. We're human. We're to honor everyone. And that we can celebrate every part of us, every culture. And so we're going to come to a close. But before we close and come to an end, I want you all just to tell us of any new events or new assignments that you all are beginning, and also encourage those that are watching, and just share your truth and your victories. Any new?
Well, with Wells of Agape, Tiffany saw something on a video, I think, and I'll let her share that. But we are going to do something with biracial children or moms or whatever, and try to educate them. And I just see a whole lot of things. So she's beginning to teach some of our anger management classes that I normally am the one that teaches, and I love that because we want to be, I want any and everybody that needs the services that we provide. I don't want anybody to ever think, oh, that's just a white, that's a white group. That hurts my heart if we ever think that. Or that we would even portray that. So for her to now be able to be in the place that I've been in, and she's now being able to teach, I think it's multifaceted, that God has so many plans, that it's far-reaching. But I'll let her share with what the Lord has put on her heart for Wells of Agape to do.
Well, I did see a video. It was a Facebook thing that they do, and I don't know what city, but it's where we will teach white mothers how to care for and style their black or biracial children's hair, so any other little girl won't have to go through 35 years of mess like I did. But I think it's important that the mothers that do have white hair, it's a different process, and I think that the education. I go to a church, Life Church in Orange on Highway 62, but we have a lot of families that are foster families, multicultural families, and they've expressed interest in really wanting to know what to do with these babies' hair. So that's what we're working on right now. We're still not sure how it's going to look completely, but we're working on getting that together, and I'm excited about it.
I'm excited about that. Any encouraging words you want to give to any, it might be a child, it might be an adult that has experienced the same thing you have experienced, that's new to all of this, or it might not be new, but still looking and searching for their identity?
Well, love yourself. It doesn't really matter what your race is, but you have to find, first of all, you have to find God, and you have to search for God and seek Him out and let Him show you His love so that you can love yourself. It's the most important thing, is to love yourself, because you can't give something to someone that you don't have. You can't love anybody else if you don't love you first. And that's my biggest piece of advice. You have to love you. And I feel like that I'm just now starting to do that. So definitely.
Elizabeth, anything new you want to share, or just encourage any victories? And
I want to get with you on that, because that sounds interesting, and I wish I would have had that back in the day. But I don't really have anything new going on. I've taken the last couple of years to go back to school, so on a new career path with that. But encouragement, I would just say to the other moms, especially to the other single moms out there, love your babies, learn. Take time to educate yourself, but then educate your kids, on their history, on what they come from, the accomplishments of African Americans from years back, what we use, what we do now that, can be, contributed to, someone that they would have no clue, There's so much, let them know you come from a great people, go back in the Bible and dig into that. Look who you come from. You're a child of kings and queens. So it's not just, yes, there's the whole civil rights movement. That's what everyone thinks about. They think about the civil rights movement, and yes, that was a struggle, and your history is part of that. But go back beyond that as well. Look at look at, a flourishing people. There's so much more, and build them up in that, build them up in who they are, and then, the white side, they're going to get that. They're going to get that in the history books. They're going to get that at school, but it's the other stuff that's not talked about that's not taught and they don't learn about anywhere else. That is the parent's responsibility, even, and if you don't know anything about it, go learn. It's interesting.
I like what you all are touching on you just saying, learn who you are, love who you are, and be proud of who you are, and celebrate who you are. Yes. And also celebrate your ancestors. If you're black, if you're white. Yeah. If you're white, brown, black, and just celebrate who you are and all of what comes with it. The history, the food, the music. And when I was getting ready for this, the Lord really touched on my heart to share this scripture, not just with you all, but those that are watching as well, is Psalms 139. That's one of my favorite Psalms, 13 through 17, because it's really important of us understanding who we are. Even if you're not a believer, even if you're a non-believer, you still need to know who you are.
That's right.
And in this chapter and in these verses, it says, "For you created my innermost being." So you is God. Created my innermost being. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. So he knitted us in our mother's womb. He already knew.
Yes, he did.
I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And it says after that, your works are wonderful, God. I know that full well. And the only way you can know that full well is by embracing and loving who you are. And therefore you can embrace and love him. And then I like in 15, it says, my frame wasn't hidden from you when I was made in the secret place. So it doesn't matter where you were made or how you were made.
That's right. Thank God.
You were made, and you're here. It says, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. I love, and then 16 says, I'm going to go all the way to 17, your eyes saw my unformed body. All, and this is my favorite part, all the days ordained for me were written in your book.
Yes.
Not in a book I made for myself.
That's right.
Not in the book that my parents made. Not in the book that society makes on black, white, brown, whatever. Not on that book, in his book.
Amen.
Before one of them came to be. So before I was even born, could think of anything, his book was written on me. He said in 17, how precious to me are your thoughts, God. How vast is the sum of them. So I do want us all to take away from this that our book on our lives is written by God.
Amen.
And if any other book that was written by whoever or whatever, that you throw that book away.
Amen.
And you ask God to give me my book.
Amen.
Let me be on the right page, the right word, the right chapter in your book.
Yes.
And even if I don't know or understand who I am, tell me who I am and be happy and free in that. And I really want to thank y'all for coming on today. This is every episode show we do is my favorite, but I really wanted to reach out to those of multiple cultures, biracial community of beautiful men and women and children and their parents, so that they could feel like they had something. It might not be the full answer, but they had something to go back and look at, to grab on, to call, to reach out, or even give help or advice to, or books or anything to help one another. Because that's a community or a group of people, as Elizabeth was saying, it's hard. It's hard unless you have a group of friends that you all come together and work together as a community and help one another out. And you don't see that. It's an isolated group at times. And sometimes you have family and sometimes you don't. And sometimes your family understands and sometimes they don't. And so I wanted this time to be a deep time, but an uplifting and an encouraging time. And so I just thank you all for being here with me. And I thank you all for watching Not in My City Unite. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the reminder button and go and look at other videos we have. And I'll see you again on Not in My City Unite.